Hi there, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. On behalf of the Challengers Committee Americas region, we thank you so much for joining us to hear from some of the most empowering nurses and leaders in the US and Mexico. Please feel welcome to say hello in the chat box and let us know where you're joining from. My name is Amy Staley, and I am a registered nurse at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center. I am also co-chair of the Nursing Now Challengers Committee, Americas region, and an immunization advocacy champion. I've been a nurse for over 3 years, but I want to bring you back to day one. Day one as a registered nurse in New York City. My first day ever as a registered nurse was in May of 2019. I was probably 2 hours early, standing on a busy sidewalk with 10 pens in my pocket in my brand new uniform, when I heard someone say, "Hey, Amy, it's happening." It was a familiar voice, of the voice of a kind woman named Nancy, who had actually hired me for this first nursing job. She led me into an auditorium where I met with hundreds of nurses who were cheering and screaming with pom-poms and signs, these nurses that would soon become my colleagues. On the stage stood our CNO as a voice through the phone said, "Congratulations, you've been awarded magnet designation with distinction." Just 1 year later, we became the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. That same auditorium remained empty as nurses and leaders flooded the floors above, caring for some of the sickest patients in the world. Nurses are like magnets. We're drawn to help, recover, rebuild, restore, and heal. We clock into uncertainty for 12 plus hours a day simply to add value to the lives of others. Unfortunately, approximately 1/3 of nurses in the world plan to leave their current role by the end of 2022. Magnet nursing reminds us that you can't retain nurses without recognition. When you add value to what you do, you add value to your role. When you feel valued, you add value to your institution, your profession, and the lives of your patients. All of this I learned best from our next speaker, the most powerful nurse I know, and also the individual who brought me into this beautiful world of nursing now. Rhoda Radula is the Director of Nursing Excellence and Magnet Recognition at New York Presbyterian Hospital. She is an author, a leader, a nurse faculty member, and a true gift to each individual that she meets. Her contributions to the nursing world and beyond are truly immeasurable. A name that needs no introduction, introducing Miss Rhoda Radula.
Thank you so much, Amy. And everything that you have said today was just articulated in the truest words of a magnet nurse. And I think I would just say that the honor is just with me trying to just see you in the world stage, blooming and flourishing in your role, not just in your day-to-day role as a clinical nurse, but really changing the world with the power of your voice through Nursing Now and beyond. So thank you to you, Amy, and I think I say her name is Amy, right? From the Nursing Now Challengers Committee and Nursing Now for having me here today. And I'm really excited to share with you more about Magnet. And I'll get started. We'll get my presentation right here. And I will just pause for a moment and Amy will help me check the chat. If you hear the word magnet, what comes to mind, or what do you know about the Magnet Recognition Program? Excellence. Yes, I see that. Yeah. Leadership. Yep, that's very true. Yes, and excellence, leadership, the highest quality of care, safety, all of those must be coming to mind. And Magnet is the gold standard of nursing excellence. Amy and the team invited me today to speak about retention through recognition, power of magnet nursing in the United States. And I am so proud and honored to be able to impart with you all this success stories in the Magnet journey, and also more about the basic principles that we live by in Magnet. But as you hear more about this today, you will come to realize that a lot of these things are things that you are already doing every day, but it's really just making sure we are aligned with the framework of excellence. So what is Magnet? That was my first question and what comes to mind. And I usually want to start my presentation with giving a brief history of the Magnet program. So if you have not heard about how it all started, so in the early 1980s, there was a huge nursing shortage in the United States. It was everywhere, not just in one region or in one area or in one setting, but it was really a major shortage. So this prompted a research from the American Nurses Association through the American Academy of Nursing. And what they found was that some organizations had difficulty with recruitment and retention, while others seemed to have an easier way around it. And they were a magnet for nurses. So the next time you hear about the Magnet program, you will remember it means attract nurses or attracting the best nurses, right? So they explored this phenomenon, and what they found was that there were 14 characteristics known as the force that became now the forces of magnetism, which were then consolidated and integrated into the 5 components of what we know now as the Magnet model. And as part of that research study, they also looked at the impact of recruitment and retention of nursing or nurses into patient outcomes. So if you look at these 2 structures now, you will see these 14 forces of magnetism, from the quality of nursing leadership, the organizational structure, which looking at it, like, what does that have anything to do with quality of care? And I will share that more as we are talking about transformational leadership, but it's really having a voice at that highest seat in the organization, right? Nursing having a voice at the highest seat of the organization. Management style, personal policies and programs, professional models of care in our organization. Amy here and Dominique, who will be speaking later, I'm sure they can share with you what's our professional practice model, which reflects our beliefs, our values, and the theories that are governing our day-to-day practice at the highest level. Quality of care, and I can go on with all the rest, but we will go dive deeper into them at the later part of the talk. And right on the right-hand side is the Magnet model. So you will see these 14 components. You will see them fit into a specific domain that we know, from transformational leadership to structural empowerment, exemplary professional practice, new knowledge, innovations and improvement, and bound in the middle is the empirical outcomes. So why Magnet, right? So what are the benefits of Magnet, and why have we embarked in the Magnet recognition program? How was the model and those 14 forces of magnetism applied, and what did we find amongst organizations who then became Magnet designated? So a top benefit is to attract and retain top talent. I already shared that with you earlier. Aside from increased retention and lower nurse burnout, there is a growing body of research that showed really decreased nurse vacancy rate, nurse turnover rate, and overall increased nurse satisfaction. So if you are looking at the Magnet model, there's what we call the big 3. Most recently, you will hear it as a big 5 because of the focus on ambulatory, but it's really just looking at the ambulatory outcomes, right? But the big 3 would be nurse engagement or nurse satisfaction. That's how satisfied and engaged nurses are at work and in practice. Second is patient experience or patient satisfaction. And the third is the clinical nurse indicators. And these are what we call nurse sensitive indicators, like falls with injury, catheter associated UTI, central line associated bloodstream infection, like all of these complications that we do not want to see in our patients. And when you are saying you're magnet ready, you need to be, in terms of data, in terms of your performance as a hospital, you need to be outperforming the national benchmark for all these three areas. And I'm so proud to be a nurse. You know why? I'm so proud to be a nurse because out of these big three, if the nurse engagement is not outperforming, if the hospital is not outperforming nurse engagement, you cannot expect to outperform most likely on those other areas and a lot of other outcomes that the hospital is working on. And when I speak with our nurses, I say, aren't you so proud? That means that you are, we are making a difference because of that, and that's shown and demonstrated by hard empirical data. So attract and retain top talent. Why else do we do Magnet? Improve patient care, safety, and satisfaction. And as we dive deeper into my presentation, you will understand the why behind this: decreased mortality rates, decreased pressure ulcers, decreased falls, and wow, like it's really a win-win win-win strategy, or win-win option. So here there was a systematic review that was done. It was published last year. This was an original research, how magnet hospital status affect nurses, patients, and organizations. And what the researchers did, you see the authors here, they looked at 163 studies and looked at the outcomes in magnet designated hospitals. So 21 out of those 163 research studies that they saw or screened initially made it to the inclusion criteria. So they looked at all these specific outcomes, and look at that, right? This was pretty recent and still saying the same thing. Lower in terms of nursing shortages for magnet hospitals versus a non-magnet hospital, lower burnout, lower job dissatisfaction and turnover. At the same time, there's lower rates of patient mortality, falls, infections, and so forth, and safer and higher nursing work environments and a higher quality of care overall in magnet hospitals. And that theme goes on, right? It fosters a collaborative culture. Why? Because embedded in the magnet framework is our standards. There are standards that you need to meet. You need to submit examples that show that you are collaborating with pharmacy, with physical therapy, with information technology, and all are interprofessional partners. And the key there is that nursing does not do this alone. So then it prompts the organization to come together, collaborating to advance practice and standards across the organization. And the same thing at the unit level, you will see those improvements. And probably not at the forefront of a lot of our discussions when we are talking, like in our nursing meetings, but it grows business and financial success. So you'll see right here all the bullet points, right? And you can see this as well in the literature: reduction in RN agency rates, vacancy rates. There's also reduced staff needle stick rates. And I have my references later in the PowerPoint, and you will see that these are all shown by evidence and research studies in the literature, and resulting to positive financial impacts because of not only the prestige that being magnet designated brings, but it also brings recognition by a potential partner or collaborator that value magnet designation, and then that really encourage forging of partnerships with other organizations and supporters. including establishing endowed roles and other donations and donors, right, in the organization. All right, so this is a snapshot. If you go to the Magnet website, the American Nurses Credentialing Center, you will see these are the characteristics of a Magnet designated organization. And you can compare them with a non-Magnet organization in terms of turnover, vacancy, the length of employment in general in Magnet organizations, including the percentage of nurses with graduate degrees, and those who are certified by a nationally recognized organization. So really excellence after excellence within a Magnet organization. And I know, speaking about this to an audience, to like all over the world, it's like I'm sure there's different standards and different scenarios. And I will speak from a voice of an immigrant. I grew up and I was raised, and I first became a nurse in the Philippines. And if I am a leader right now there, I would say, like, how do I even begin? If I want to get in the Magnet journey, how do I even begin? And this quote I was reminded of: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So last week, we just had our site visit in one of our behavioral health facilities. And once designated, because we're waiting right now for word from the Magnet Commission, our facility at Gracie Square Hospital, which is an affiliate of New York Presbyterian, will only be the third in the world as a freestanding psychiatric facility that will be Magnet designated. So it's pretty exciting. And we're so proud of that. And the first one, freestanding, that's the category, is also one of our New York Presbyterian facilities. And that was back in 2018. But if you ask nurses and the team, like, how did we even begin, right? It seemed like an impossible journey to be able to get there. So how do you do it? And if I'm going to show you the components of the model and just be able to share with you that, yes, it is possible. First, of course, through a transformational leader, right? Or leaders. So what is transformational leadership? It is being able to lead people to where they need to be in order to meet the demands of the future. The chief nursing officer and the top leaders, nursing leaders in the organization, with the support of senior management in the hospital, having a vision, having an influence in the day-to-day practice of care, in the policies that are being developed and revised in the hospital, having the clinical knowledge and strong experience to be able to lead the team. And if you read further about transformational leadership, you'll also read something about a transformational leader may also need to create turbulence sometimes to be able to make that change and institute change and come up with atypical solutions. Like, of course, you already have heard a lot of stories about how we thrive and how we went through the pandemic, but those were a lot of atypical solutions that everyone came up with in terms of staffing, in terms of addressing clinical complications, addressing mortality, and even patient experience and the patient and family experience and communication that we had to manage, during that COVID time. So aligned with transformational leadership, a strong component of that is advocacy. Again, you will see here, what are keywords with advocacy? The chief nursing officer and the directors of nursing advocating for more resources. And some of these are really true stories, right? It could have happened in our hospital, but you can see them in a lot of organizations where you see transformational leaders having that influence. In one of our campuses a few years ago, we had a huge opportunity with our IV pumps. So most of them were already being, they were outdated. So what would happen, and Amy here and Dominique, you probably can hear stories about this where there would be an experience of nurses where the IV pump would just die, or the battery life is just not there. So it's impacting the quality of care and also a potential issue in the safety of care. So with a lot of course, planning and advocating, I think I've never heard such number of pumps that were acquired in my lifetime as a nurse. I think there were like over 1,000 IV pumps that were rolled out in the the organization to be able to upgrade those IV pumps. So, and that started because of transformational leaders and clinical nurses at the front line being able to voice the need. Having dedicated medication room for chemotherapy. How did this start? Because clinical nurses found an opportunity that an error is waiting to happen when they don't have a quiet and dedicated room to be able to prepare their the chemo agents. So during the chief nursing officer rounds, they shared this as as a wish list to the chief nursing officer. And you get the idea, right? So all of this were made happen. And part of transformational leadership is the chief nursing officer, and again, the nursing leaders being able to communicate, and they are visible and accessible to the team, to the clinical nurses. They do this through town halls where you can ask any question under the sun to your chief nursing officer in that big town hall meeting. Being able to give updates through newsletters. We even have a term called fireside chats with the CNO, or breakfast with the chief nurse, or lunch with the chief nurse, because it is important for the chief nursing officer and the leaders to be able to hear directly from the clinical nurses. Next component is structural empowerment. And if you ask me, these three words stand out. Having the solid structures and processes and innovative practices to be able to have strong professional practice. So a big theme of structural empowerment, and again, same theme of recognition, recognizing nurses through opportunities in professional development. It is the organization, the hospital, making a commitment to the advancement of nurses by providing tuition benefits, for example, to be able to pursue graduate degrees, certification, whether it is in the form of financial support or study preps, and recognition once you're certified, and even creating mentoring programs. R4 stands for Recruitment, Retention, Recognition, and Respect Committee. This is also a part of structural empowerment, because it is the committee is one that champions recognition, whether it's an individual nurse or a team of nurses. Have you ever heard of DAISY? Yes, it is a program, of course, an international program that recognizes extraordinary nurses. And this, the DAISY Award, is actually one of the common awards that we put forward to demonstrate that we are meeting the standards of Magnet, because we are recognizing the outstanding nurses in the organization. The third component, and I'm also doing a time check here, Amy and Jaime, is exemplary professional practice, right? If you ask me, the theme for exemplary professional practice, which is the third component when I shared that with you, the Magnet model, is commitment to patient safety and quality. At our hospitals, at our campuses, we have what we call HAI champions. So this stands for Healthcare Associated Infection Champions. These are, again, our clinical nurses and members of our hospital quality team, and other members of the interprofessional team coming together, really doing a deep dive on our data and opportunities and strategies to improve our infection rates. And along the theme of recognition, we have what we call a quality cup, where this big, it's an actual cup, like what you would see in a was like a big trophy where we put healthy snacks in them. And that's a monthly award that goes to the unit that is achieving or has the highest achievement in terms of all these quality and safety metrics. There's also dashboards of the data that everyone reviews during huddles and also gets reviewed during meetings. And an important component under exemplary professional practice and a lot more is peer feedback. This is embedded in the annual performance review, where peers are able to speak to each other and be able to share what they do best, what areas of practice do they do best, and also identify opportunities where they can improve and develop a goal on during the next year. The last component is new knowledge, innovation, and improvement, which really captures a lot of the evidence-based practice work, the research work of the organization, and Magnet prompts you to do this. It prompts you to redefine, redesign your workflow, redesign, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing this 8 steps before we are doing this procedure? Or what is the flow of a patient who's coming from this this patient area to this area, like looking at all those processes, using evidence and new evidence and existing evidence to be able to do that. And some of these here that you see are just examples of new knowledge, improvement, and innovation, like a creation of a new early warning score and so forth. And again, under that is being able to disseminate the research and the great work that you have. The Magnet Recognition Program prompts you to have those structures, such as a poster symposium within the hospital or a parade of posters that we do during Nurses Week, and providing support for nurses to be able to present their work in conferences locally, nationally, and globally, and through publication. So going back to that question, and I am getting to the end of my presentation, where do you begin, right? So professional and shared governance is a huge vehicle. It's at the core of the Magnet program. And you heard me speak about transformational leadership and having the organizational support. But just quickly about professional governance, this is where clinical nurses at the front line are able to lead and participate in this hospital councils. And it actually starts in a unit council, having that governing body where you are looking at your practice and evaluating like practice, engagement, teamwork, looking at all of those pieces. And at the hospital level, having these committees, for example, which is just a snapshot of the possible ways that you can be involved as nurses: Nursing EVP Research Council, Nursing Informatics Council, and Quality Council, and so forth. And these are just some of the great work that come out of the professional governance councils, which I would, I would emphasize is at the heart of the Magnet Recognition Program. All the things that I have reviewed already from the beginning, all of those are threaded through the achievement of all of this through the involvement of clinical nurses, them having a voice at these committees, and they are having leaders, transformational leaders, to be able to make that happen. And I will pause. I have a video to show, which is very short, but I can come back in the very end because I'm very sensitive of your time frame, Amy.
We have time. We would love to see it if you'd like to show it.
Oh, okay. All right. I will do that. Let's see.
Whatever is best for you.
Okay, I will stop sharing and I will share that. So this is
I'm Christina Lidovic. I'm a staff nurse on Force Central, the cardiothoracic surgical step-down, and I'm the Magnet Champions co-chair.
My name is Natalie File. I work in DHK ambulatory surgery, and I'm also a Magnet Champions co-chair.
As the Magnet Champion for my unit, I feel like I've been able to highlight and share and celebrate the accomplishments that we do every single day. Our nurses are constantly going above and beyond, providing excellent patient care and participating in QI and ABP. And I feel like my role is to show off to the rest of the institution the amazing things that they do every day.
As a co-chair, we both had the privilege of visiting all different units all over the hospital and getting to meet new people that we probably might not have gotten the opportunity to meet before we became Magnet co-chairs. And we really got to see just how great every nurse in this hospital is and how proud we are to be a part of such an amazing team, and see everybody's projects and just really highlight and build everybody's confidence, to show them just how amazing they are and just how we make the hospital go around.
Hi, my name is Sam Martinez. I'm from the dialysis and apheresis unit. My direct involvement in driving NYP's goals has sparked interest and even more enthusiasm among my colleagues to carry out projects. A definite boost in employee engagement and morale.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Collins. I'm a nurse on 8 West. Through participation in the Magnet Champions meetings and other hospital-wide meetings, I was able to bring back information to my unit and make everyone feel more involved. Also, as a Magnet Champion, I was able to spread enthusiasm and positivity through our Magnet journey.
Okay. Let's see. So that concludes my presentation, but I will just close with 2 quick things that you saw it, right? The theme is pride in your practice, really commitment to constant commitment to the highest levels of care and commitment to your team, to our profession and to each other. And it's not an award that you are seeing. It's nice to see the award and the obelisk and the trophy, but it's really what we do in daily practice and how we are to each other and to our teams and to our patients and our families. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Through her words and contributions, Rhoda has truly added value to the lives of some who she probably hasn't even met yet. So thank you so much for all that you do within the Magnet world and beyond. And I loved that quote that you shared in the middle: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. I think that's so important to remember for those of us who want to become nurses, those who are nursing students, and those of us who have been working for years, that it's really never too late to begin something new. And as I mentioned, Dr. Rhoda Radula is an author, and she actually created this amazing nurse journal, which is a beautiful way to document your journey from the first steps taken. So for those who haven't seen it, it is on Amazon, and I highly recommend you guys checking it out. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Amy, and everyone.
And next, I am proud to introduce Maria Dominique Flores, New York's best pediatric nurse. Dominique runs the world of pediatric nursing and research over here at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center. She also helps run the world of New York City because just last week, Dominique volunteered her world-class nursing skills at the New York City Marathon. And we are so excited to have her here with us today as a member of the Challengers Committee. So thank you so much for joining us, Dominique.
All right, thank you for having me. You're like so kind. Thank you for that nice introduction. And I have to say, on the New York Marathon, I do recommend, if you're able to have the chance, it's a wonderful experience to volunteer. And I'm hoping one day maybe we can get a team of New York Presbyterian nurses to go, because I know when I first did it, it was me and a bunch of cardiac ICU nurses, and it was great and fantastic. So I love meeting people from other units there. But without further ado, I know my presentation is geared towards magnet nursing, but it's more on a campus site level, and I can speak to it because of the other activities and committees, as well as tuition reimbursement, which I think is a perk in terms of one of the things that has been established since magnet nursing has become a priority. Let me just share my screen. Slide, let's see. Share PowerPoint. Okay, is everyone able to see my slides? Alrighty, okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Dominique once again. This is my presentation on magnet nursing, but as mentioned, this is more campus site specific. So without further ado, we'll begin. So just to give a brief snapshot, you probably heard of this from Rhoda, but we do have multiple sites on New York Presbyterian. I'm from the Weill Cornell campus, but one of the things about this is that you have to do magnet recertification for every single campus separately. So each campus site might have their own goals. That's the reason why I made that specific. And you have here for CHONY or Columbia, Hudson Valley, Allen Hospital, Lower Manhattan. And for here, you probably saw this model already, but the magnet model, the two things I'll actually go over in depth more is actually structural empowerment as well as new knowledge, innovations, and improvements, because I feel like those two happen to be the two aspects that bring nursing to want to stay at the bedside or at least stay within a particular organization. I know that's the case for me and other nurses on my unit. And for new knowledge, I'm actually the chair for the Evidence-Based Practice and Research Committee. And I think with that committee, there's so many opportunities for growth and that there's always something new to discover that I feel like it's an amazing organization, committee, and part of the shared governance model to become a part of, because there's actually a part-time degree with Columbia University where you can pursue your PhD, and there's other things I can speak to that later on. But as mentioned, we have our professional practice model. So professional development, evidence-based practice, collaboration, autonomy, and advocacy. And one of the things I'll stress with EBP is that science and medicine is always changing, which is the reason why it's important to stay on top of your game, as well as to be open to the fact that like maybe there are other methods or other techniques that work better for patient care. So for structural empowerment, like she mentioned before, tuition reimbursement happens to be one of the things that does encourage nurses to stay at a particular organization. I know this could be one of those things where you might be looking at where you'd want to stay, what you'd like to do with your degree, what you'd like to do with your prospective future career. I know for myself, I actually like being part of my unit, and it's the people that make me want to stay, but as well as one of the things I'm looking forward to do is actually getting my PNP, DNP degree. So my pediatric nurse practitioner degree actually is being funded by the organization. And I have to say that is in my opinion, a blessing, because one, I don't have to pay out of pocket for any of my tuition, as well as look out for loans. So that's one of the things that actually does encourage us to stay, because there might be other sites that don't offer that same opportunity. And so there's actually also collaborations with other universities. So I know for us, this applies to other campus sites as well, but you can get an MSN in clinical leadership or pursue a PhD degree part-time with Columbia University. That's only available for New York Presbyterian nurses. You can do it full-time if you're coming from another place, but unfortunately the thing is when you do it full-time, it is a big commitment and you may not be able to work. That's the reason why for New York Presbyterian nurses, one, you have the opportunity to work whether as a nurse or a nurse practitioner while still pursuing this degree within like 5 years. So I think that has become a big selling point also for other nurses, one, to stay within the organization, as well as provide them another way to contribute to the world of nursing in a light where it's developing new things for them. So I know from people who I am friends with in the PhD program, they're doing things in LGBTQ care or school nursing in the communities. And it's actually so invested to the point where they're already doing things that are outreaching to other places like CHOP, and I've seen fantastic things from them. So that's the reason why I do advocate for, if other places are doing magnet one of the things that is a big selling point is tuition reimbursement, which does get nurses to stay. The next one is certification. So certification is great because it solidifies a nurse's knowledge in this particular specialty. So I know I went for my CPN, which is a certified pediatric nurse boards. And if you pass on the first or second time, depending on which organization you're seeking it from, so whether it's from the ANA, the American Nurses Association, or from a different credentialing board, you can get it reimbursed so that you don't have to pay out of pocket for that. And one of the good things about this is it's another step in your resume and also in your career to solidify, yes, I've been in this specialty for 2 to 3 years and I'm very strong in this, and I feel that I'm the best person for whatever other job you decide to pursue related to that. With mentorship, so this goes hand in hand also with the fellowship programs as well. I know in terms of related to research, we have the nurse research fellows. So to give more background on that, it's also later in the slides, but we actually have nurse research fellows on each different New York Presbyterian campus site, and they get to have a PhD or a nurse scientist be their mentor for whatever research project that they decide to do. And it's actually a very competitive process because only a few nurses get to get in, because you are matched based on the feasibility of your project, as well as who would be the best mentor that can give you the guidance for that particular specialty. Because you need somebody, if you're working on Epic or something related to the medical health record, someone who's really good at data mining and extracting those things would be best fit for you. And sometimes it's a matter of who is available as well. So I know for some people, they're deciding to do a project that's related to specifically mother, baby, and OBGYN care. So when you find that good match of a feasible project and a mentor who specializes in that, which is very rare sometimes, then you can become part of the fellowship program. And what's great about that is it still advances knowledge while also contributes to the overall organization and specialty. For R4, so you've probably heard about this already, but it's the Recruitment, Retention, Recognition, and Respect Committee. So this goes along with the shared governance meetings that we have, but this is the committee that meets where they try to come up with strategies to recognize nurses for what they do. So that included the Daisy Award. So actually, Amy, I know is a part of it, where one, you get to at least submit someone that you think did an exceptional job, or they have a fantastic story and you wish that they could be recognized for it, because it's one of those once in a lifetime things that I think that they deserve a shining moment in their life. For recruitment, respect, I am for Weill Cornell, we're like really close to the Ronald McDonald House. So a lot of the times there's community involvement where we're volunteering, whether that's even for simple things like food can drives, other materials, supplies, because actually with the Ronald McDonald House, and I can speak to this because I work in pediatrics, for a lot of the families that are not well off and they need some resources, they sometimes actually have their family members go there, and they go back and forth between inpatient and also getting care there. So that's the reason why when we fundraise for things like that, there are families in need and patients under New York Presbyterian that do get care over there, as well as their hospitality stay. So that's the reason why it's great that while we take care of them in the hospital, we're also outreaching to other services in the community, as well as trying to follow up with them afterwards. It's not about just getting them out of the hospital and being discharged. It's about how you sustain your life afterwards. And I think that's a big important part. Next here, I do have shared governance meetings, but the reason why I have this here, the separate bullet points, because R4 is one of the things that they have multiple components to it. With shared governance, I can tell you that we have the Nursing Informatics Committee, Nursing Practice, Operations Council. I mentioned evidence-based practice and research. You also have quality and safety. So say, for example, you are interested in a particular committee and you don't know which one just yet. It's great to just get your feet wet and participate just as a general member. And I started doing that maybe my first year of nursing, because I know I like learning new things, but maybe you're just not sure where you're going with it yet. So once you attend a couple of meetings and once you find what's your niche, it's kind of like finding your group or where you fit in. You may feel like, oh, I feel more aligned with doing activities with the Operations Council. I feel more aligned with doing activities for a nursing practice. So just to give background, nursing practice, you go over the policies that may have changed or that need to be revised, and you go over on a campus level site that may later on need to be brought up onto an enterprise level. So that, say, for example, if there is increase in the amount of mental health patients in the ER, and you're wondering, how can we protect our staff nurses in the ER? Well, one of the things is we make sure that now there's a new implementation of the violence flag. So that's something where one, structural empowerment, new research, and also having staff nurses and director of nursing administration involved, where they created something that is protecting our staff, because without staff nurses, who's here to also protect the patients that we have? So it's a full cycle in that sense. So that's why getting involved is important, not just for the safety of the patients, but also for our own careers and the safety of ourselves. So participating in shared governance is great. So that way, one, not only do you figure out what ways you want to contribute outside of the bedside practice, if you find yourself wanting to pursue a different career, but still want to do nursing, maybe, for example, you feel like you're really good at tech or want to be an Epic analyst and you want to help with optimizations. So that just involves with maybe altering things on the medical record that are easier for the bedside staff nurses to document on. Or maybe you want to work on things on quality and safety to make things much more easier and also safer for the patients on a level related to the policies. That's a good opportunity for you to have your moment where you shine and also reach out to that department, kind of like networking in which ways you'd like to go. And for EBP and research, this is where you would go for wanting to do a PhD degree. So next slide, this one over here, this shows the statistics on the measures of distinction. So going back to what we mentioned before, we talked about certification rates. We talked about pursuing higher degrees. And I can say this as an example, like where pretty much half my unit is going for an MSN, if not a DNP degree. So I can definitely speak to the fact that almost every nurse I know is pursuing a different degree or higher. Obtaining national board certification is one that's highly encouraged. Formal degrees conferred, nursing research studies complete. Also, when it comes to nursing research studies, this also could be in terms of longitudinal or maybe just cross-sectional. Professional publications, podium presentations, or poster presentation that could be on a virtual symposium or maybe an actual conference. So we'll move on to the next slide for that. So new knowledge, innovation, and improvement. This relates to the research activities that we do. So I can say this every month we have our meetings where we invite people. One, if they are conducting research on their unit, then we would have them go over their PICO question. What can we do to help them out? What is it that they need? Maybe we can give them other consults or information for IRB approval and things of that sort. And for other groups who are more or less already on the path of creating a poster on publication or wanting to get this on the journal, we also have a symposium on a campus and enterprise level so that they can share their accomplishments with us and how we can take what they've done and also apply it to the units from us. Because I know for sure for me, some of the things I've seen in other units, I feel like we could also apply in pediatrics, even though it's a completely different specialty. Just going over some of the other things that we do that I feel like advance moving forward, developing new things and also innovation. So PICO question review, article presentation that's been published, IRB office and clinical medical librarian consults, which is a really great resource to have in New York Presbyterian, because one, there's tons of literature and sometimes you just need to filter out what's necessary and important. For the sessions, I mentioned before that we have the nurse research fellows per campus. That's not specific to Weill Cornell, that's also per site. Navigating graduate nursing studies. So that also what we like to do for research is try to match our sessions to help it align with the organization's goals as well. So that one, not only are we supporting our staff nurses, but also continuing that legacy of one, we want to encourage people to further their degree, whether it is a master's, whether it is a PhD or a DNP. And then we have other events and workshops that help them and provide them with the tools they need to conduct research. Also, these are some of the other activities and other flyers that we have throughout the year. And other than that, I just want to end up, I know I have your questions here, but just to end off that, when it comes to structural empowerment and nursing research, I think those are the two things that seem to keep nurses, at least on my unit and also on the campus site, wanting to stay at the bedside, because one, with things changing so constantly, it's important to stay in the loop. And that with the instructional empowerment, it gives them the opportunity to participate and become part of that change. I think that once you're becoming engaged in part of the process, you feel like you want to grow with the people that you started out with. So yeah, that's my presentation. If anyone has any questions thus far.
Thank you so much, Dominique. We're so lucky to have you as a member of the Nursing Now Challengers Committee. And I know that we all look forward to continuing to follow all that you're doing, both inside of the hospital and outside for your community as well. And I loved that you mentioned like having a nurse buddy to go through all of this with really encourages you to, stay in the profession and to grow together through the process. That's really amazing. One of those big words that we've said time and time again with Magnet is excellence. And you are truly the perfect definition of what excellence looks like in real life. And I just feel so fortunate to be one of your colleagues. So thank you so much for joining us. I do want to mention, I wanted to mention, because Dominique is a member of the Challengers Committee with me. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Challengers Committee is made up of global nurses and midwives who work with the Nursing Now Challenge team to identify innovative ways to support nurses and midwives in their roles as leaders, practitioners, advocates in health, and demonstrate that nursing and midwifery are both exciting and rewarding careers in order to improve recruitment and retention on a global scale. So if you don't live in the Americas region, that's okay. There are 6 regional hubs within the Challengers Committee to represent each of the 6 World Health Organization regions. And each of these hubs is chaired by members of the committee. And if you're interested in joining, we would love to hear from you. Does anybody have any questions for myself or for any of our other speakers before we close out? Please feel welcome to type them in the chat or to unmute yourself, whatever is most convenient for you. There's also some more information about the Challengers Committee over in the chat box if anybody's interested in reading up some more. Through the accomplishments and wisdom of our amazing speakers here today, we have witnessed the magic and healing that Magnet Nursing brings to our profession throughout the United States and beyond. There's just one thing missing from the Magnet domains and the world of nursing now, and that is you. If you're interested in creating healing and magic of your own while adding value to your profession, we hope that you'll consider joining us as a member of the Nursing Now Challengers Committee. We have the power to retain our profession through the power of recognition, equity, healing, and justice. And today is day 1. Thank you all so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, and morning. And so many kind comments for Dominique and Dr. Rhoda Radula in the chat.
Congratulations, Amy and the Nursing Now Challengers Committee. Really proud of all your work, and I see the future of nursing is as bright as it can be just seeing you here right now. And I see our own Vice President for the Magnet Recognition Program, Rebecca Greystone, join us, and I'm sure she'll be echoing the same words.
Thank you, Rhoda. It's the perfect definition of Magnet in real life, because you have led us to this point, and we're so grateful for all of the amazing leadership that we've gotten from you and from the hospital and the world of nursing now.